noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to hear from the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, on your exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in. It's another edition of Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's not waste any time as we kick off the program with the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, kind enough to join us. Bill, how you doing?
Hello, Bill.
I'm doing good, boys. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
Hanging in there.
How do you deal with the roller coaster of emotions that come from a season, the highs and the lows? I mean, it's an 82-game season, so you know that's going to happen. But I got to imagine it's hard not getting caught up in what's going on at the latest.
At this point in my life, I've raised 4 kids and I've coached and I've done probably almost every position in hockey. So I'm a lot calmer than I was at 29 and 30. I find ways that I guess I know myself better, and there are just times where you just say, listen, bite your tongue. It's a better day tomorrow. Study it in the morning, and come back at it at a calmer mindset. And that's a little bit of a skill in this job, and you have to learn to really kind of compartmentalize things where you can be in a room that's heated and have to go do a press conference on the other side of that wall, and it's the kid's greatest day of his life, and everybody's excited, and you have to be able to change your emotions and jump into what needs to be accomplished. So it's definitely a lot of practice, and it's definitely a lot of experience in knowing how to do that, because there are a lot of emotions in a day as a GM for sure.
No question about it, and tough couple of nights over the last couple of nights, and it was crazy going into these 3 overtime games. The Mammoth were 3-0 in overtime games.
Yeah.
And, you string these 3 overtimes together and just difficult ones, really difficult losses. How is the team handling these losses, and are there still good things you can take away from 3 consecutive 3-2 OT losses?
Yeah, there is. I think, the one thing about it is we get into this part of the season, and it's still early in the season. When it goes this way for you and it's not going your way, there's lessons to be learned, whether it's to back check it, whether it's better changes, or there's small things to be learned that causes the loss. And I think for our group, the one thing, the big picture, what you like about it, out of the last 8 points, we've got 5 of them. So you have to keep that in mind, and that's part of controlling your emotions and seeing the big picture. Our division is absolutely a battle. Every single night it's on. They're 1-goal games, and you better be ready to dig in and play our game. And so I like our team's battle last night. There's a lot of goodness that comes from coming back and in both games. And not playing well early on, and then stabilizing it on the road, and especially battling to get points. So there's some goodness. There's some learning curves, and some of those learning curves leaves a little scar. But you have to go through that. That's part of the adversity. And if we can clean up those small things in our game, we can find ways to win and get into the playoffs. So a little bit of a learning curve for us, but in the big picture, we got 5 of the 8 points.
Well, you come home on a 4-game homestand. You played 13 out of 20 on the road, most road games of anybody in the NHL. That Delta Center's got to be a nice to come back home, I guess.
It is. I think we've done a lot of road work, a lot of business trips we've been on so far, and I like where we're at as a team. We talked about, when we looked at that schedule at the start, we were like, man, this could be the storm that sinks the ship here if we don't get through it, And I like how our groups responded. I like how we've managed it and got through it, and it's been good. It's certainly going to pay dividends for us to get back on the Delta home ice and crush it. And so it's for us, we love to play at home. We love to play in front of our fans, and we got some great teams coming in.
Vegas twice in a matter of about 5 days. Talk about the Golden Knights, what you guys expect from them.
they're a good team every year. I mean, led by Jack Eichel. They got big bodies. We've got to use our speed. That's going to be our big thing for us. We got to drop penalties by using our speed. We got to get to the inside, make them play fast. I think we're one of the fastest teams in the National Hockey League, and when we play that way, it's hard to keep up. We play with great pace, and it's an entertaining style of hockey. But when we put it on teams, we can create a lot of offense because of our speed and our pace. So it's going to be a battle. They're well coached, and they've got some great players.
What's the science behind having a team that's as fast as your team is and athletic as your team is, but 82 games, that's a long season, and you're only at the quarter mark of the season. How do you go about it from a scientific standpoint to make sure that your guys are just as fast in March and April as they are now?
Well, one of the key things is, believe it or not, is, if we've after our last game on the road, make sure we work out, or we got a day between games, working out, making sure that we're tracking how much time we're on the ice. There's a little bit of sports science, which our group does a great job with, allowing them to get rest or staying over in a town and not, getting to your bed at home at 4 in the morning. So there's little ways that you have to do it. Every little hour counts. And it's not a normal season because the games are so jammed in for the Olympic break that you're playing, day off, playing, and then it's back to back, and then it starts again the next week. And so it's really about taking care of yourself, looking after yourself, and making sure that we've got the days planned out well for our players.
Bill, that Anaheim loss looked really difficult for the players, especially Vejmelka. And are there pretty strict rules on coming out of a net to a certain distance? Because it looked like Vejmelka was taking that loss on himself, giving up that OT goal. But I don't know anything about the specifics of how a goalie should attack out of the net, how far he should get out. Are there specific rules to that?
No, I mean, you can come out, but once you're out of the blue paint, you're free game for players to run into you in that. So I do think there's a limit to how far the goaltenders can actually come out and play. But that loss was on a lot of other, it was on everybody. It wasn't just on Vejmelka. And I think for us, there's a lot of learning curves. There are a lot of little things that we did in that situation where we can do better. And I think that's something that you'd rather learn early in the season than later. So I like with our group, one thing about our group, we'll go back, we'll look at it, we'll fix it. Our players are dedicated. They're going to figure out and make sure it doesn't happen again. So I think when things happen like that to us, it's better it happens now so we can clean it up and fix it and move forward and make sure the next time it comes around that we're getting 2 points out of that game.
I really enjoy these conversations and learning more about the game simply because, you see a goal given up and you immediately think, well, the goalie gave up that goal, when in reality that could have happened 10, 15 seconds prior where that goal was given up with a defensive breakdown or somebody not being marked up. I mean, there's a lot that goes into giving up a goal.
Well, yeah, and they pull their goaltending at 6-on-5. If they just shoot the puck on net and outnumber you, they're going to get a good look at it, right? Could hit something in front and go on the net, and that's usually what happens on a 6-on-5. They just outnumber you, so that's going to happen anyways. I think for our group is making sure that people are in place, and if they do score, it's not that we did the wrong thing. It's just that they outnumbered us in that situation. So I think for our group, we'll grow through that. It's a hard learning lesson in early part of the season, but let's learn now and achieve later.
Peterka starting to climb the points list here, Bill. He's looking better and better. Scored a couple last night and really coming along. Just talk about J.J. Peterka now through a few games, 20 games with you and with this crew, and you just feel like it's still a pretty unlimited ceiling for him?
Yeah, I think with JJ, he's a natural goal scorer. He just appears, at times, and boom, he's like shot out of a cannon. And he's just got an elite ability to finish. He's impressive. I think it takes a while for players like that, when you play a key role on a team to kind of learn to fit in. So I think there's an adjustment period for him, and also it's a different system. So I think for him, he's made that adjustment, and I think he's getting better every single game. And not only is he trying to play good defense, but play offensively at an elite level. So he's come a long way since the start of the season. I love his game, and I love the fact that he can add in goals. And he was huge for us last night, bearing 2 goals.
So I do games for Utah State, and there's a trip on the football team every year where they have a wives trip. You've got a mom's trip, and the players had their moms in the Anaheim-San Jose trip. What's that like, and the impact that those moms have had on their kids throughout the years?
Well, moms have a huge impact. They do the drive and they do the organizing. They're if you see a good hockey player, there's usually a good mom right behind them, and that's the same for mine. My mom was extremely tough. My dad was a blue collar guy, and they had to put a lot of time and effort into hockey for me. And I know, you appreciate it, but when you got in that car and you didn't play well, that was a long drive home with mom, because she lets you know that she could be shopping and going on fancy vacations, but no, here we are driving to Buffalo for my game, and it was a long drive. You made sure you played well, but all the moms were unbelievable. They were grateful. They had some great days on the road with their boys, and just to spend time with their sons in the NHL, it's a special trip. For me, it's all about the wins. So I tell them, hey, listen, if you go undefeated in this trip, for the moms, you'll be back next year. Unfortunately, they didn't. We'll bring the dads in next year. So if the dads go undefeated, they'll be back the next year.
I love that. Bill, I was curious because Scotty and I are continuing to just learn the point system, and last year was really our first point of reference. And it took 96 points to get in the West. That was St. Louis that had that great finish and slid in with 96 points. Is there a point minimum that you kind of feel that you look at a number and you say, we have to have that many in order to make it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 92 this year, because I think all the teams at the bottom have improved so much they're going to steal points. So I do think it's 92 points that gets you in. It's somewhere between 92 to 96. If you really want to get in and not let the GM sweat every single night, it's 100 points.
So let's just do the 100.
Just get the century mark and you're good. Yeah.
Tag the 100.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll. I'm excited about this 4-game homestand. I know that the Mammoth fans are going crazy. Delta Center should be packed and crazy. So, Bill, it should be better for you.
Yeah, let's go, boys. Let's go.
All right. Hey, appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time, and can't wait to see those steaks get fired up here soon.
I can't wait either, boys. Thanks very much.
All right, brother.
There we go.
Right.
He's the man, and he's rocking a lot of good Bar W beef, too.
Yeah, he did. He's got a box of Bar W beef. Excited to get some thoughts once he cooks up a couple of slices, but he's been on the road.
No, I know. There's no way to get to that stuff.
What did you say, 13 of the first 20?
13 of the first 20. Most road games in the NHL.
Well, you could kind of see it. These last 3 games, all 3 overtime, all 3 losses at 3-2. And as I mentioned to Bill, going into that game, they were 3-0 in overtimes. They knew how to get wins in overtimes, and for one reason or the other, the last few overtimes have been difficult for them.
There's and every overtime game's a little different. If you give up a late lead and it goes into overtime, that's a little bit of a gut punch. And then, if you're able to salvage a point because you score late and force a game into overtime and get a point that way, like every game kind of has a different emotional feel to it. But, it's still, you look at that trip overall and you came home with, a good chunk, 5 out of available 8 points. Mm-hmm. And so, you'll take that, but deep down you're also like, we could have had quite a bit more, though.
Yeah, with the overtimes, you always feel like you're right there. Now, last night it did feel like San Jose kind of had the lead, took the lead, and I thought that it was good that Peterka was able to score and at least get them back in it to force overtime. But, that was a tough start and a tough game throughout. But just to kind of clear that up for people, as you hear Scotty say, 8 available points. So there's 2 available points for the 4 games played. 2 available points. You get 2 for the win, and you get 1 if you have an overtime loss. So 2 for the win. You've got 3 overtime losses. That gives you 5 of the available 8 points, which is still a haul.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still good. And when you heard me asking Bill about the point system at the end, each of those points racks up through the regular season, and you have to get Now, he feels like it's somewhere around 92. Now, I will point out that in the East, you had two teams with 91 points make it in. Mm-hmm. You had Montreal with 91, and you had New Jersey with 91. The lowest point total to make it in the West was St. Louis with 96. Minnesota made it in with 97. But Bill feels like, Chicago, Nashville, Seattle, San Jose, Anaheim, that those teams are all getting better. So they're going to steal some of those points in some of those games, which should reduce the overall point total, and you could slip in somewhere around 92.
I'm going to say 95.
You're just kind of...
Yeah, just making it even. I mean, well, frankly, he said, well, let's just make it an even 100. I'd say, shoot for 95. If you can get there, I feel pretty good about their chances. But they're at what right now?
23.
23.
Yeah. 23.
Well, and you're at the quarter mark of the season, so that puts you pretty much on pace.
The highest point scorer in the West is Colorado.
Yeah.
At 31. But in the Central Division, you've got Colorado at 31 points, Dallas at 27, Winnipeg at 24, Chicago at 24, Utah at 23, Minnesota at 22. Utah right now in front of Minnesota and St. Louis that made it last year. Mm-hmm. Chicago obviously was the bottom of the barrel, the Central. Chicago has really jumped up and playing much better hockey right now. And then in the Pacific Division, Anaheim leads it at 25 points. Then you got Vegas at 24, LA at 24, Seattle matching the Mammoth at 23, and standing in the fourth spot in the Pacific Division. So to that point, you've got an opportunity to go take 4 points from Vegas. Vegas has to play in Delta Center twice over the next 5 nights. So go take 4 points off Vegas.
Yeah.
And make this thing a lot more interesting in the Central Division. Utah's playing good. It's just, this 7 has been pretty rough, Scott.
And that's why I talk to Bill about this, because the emotional roller coaster, and we see it with the Jazz all the time. There's some games, we'll have a stretch of games where we'll come out and hop on there and be like, wow, Jazz are red hot. And I know we haven't had a lot of those stretches over the last several years. And then a week later, like, oh, man, they just dropped 3 in a row. This is rough. I mean, it's the emotional roller coaster of a season. And right now we saw the high of the high early on in the season with the Mammoth. And now we're seeing things drop back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, they started the season 8-2. They get that win against Winnipeg, and they start the season 8-2. And they had that 7-game win streak that they went on. 8-2, fantastic start. They have lost 8 of the last 10. They're 2-8 in the last 10 to put them to 10-7.
Yep. All right, Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Let's go out to the phones. Welcome in Danny Ainge right here for his weekly conversation. Danny, how are you?
Hey, Danny.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How we doing?
We're doing well. Is this team playing at the expectations you had for them, or is this where you thought they'd be? Give us kind of your early season grade on your squad so far.
Well, Scotty, I think that it's, like we've had some great games and some really bad games and some great quarters and some bad quarters. But, yeah, I mean, I think I expected some of that. But I hate to just talk about expectations. It really only matters what they expect. And rather than dealing with everybody else's expectations. But it's been a fun group to watch as far as how hard they've played and competed. But, yeah, we've had some rough stretches, and then there's been times where it's been a great joy to watch.
For instance, the double overtime win against the Bulls the other night, fantastic. Markkanen goes for 47. Big game.
It was a train wreck in the first half, but in the second half it was really fun, and the overtimes were really exciting, and our guys played well.
Along the way, I'm watching guys just shine, though. Keontae George in the first half last night, Danny, was unbelievable. Keontae George was unbelievable against Chicago. I mean, he's had I don't know, maybe 8 games that are just fantastic. Whether the team's winning or not, you're seeing some wins coming from these young guys, and Keontae George just seems to be blossoming right now.
Yeah, Keontae's having a great year. I mean, he put in so much time in the off season, worked really hard. You can tell his confidence is very high right now. And, he struggled in the first half against Chicago the other night, but came back with a spectacular performance and followed up with a great first half last night. But no, Keontae's he's had a terrific year. And, he's showing that at his young age that he's becoming a legit big-time NBA player. That's fun.
Is it usually, I know every player's a little different, but is it usually maybe 2 or 3 years before it really sinks in the amount of work and the work ethic you have to excel in the NBA? Is there a moment where it clicks that you can kind of say, okay, between year 2 or year 3 or year 1 and year 2, or is it just so different with every player?
I think every player is unique and different. Some players need to understand how hard it is to play in the league. I think a lot of players come into the league and they think they're the next Kobe Bryant, and they get rude awakenings and they respond in different ways to that. But reality checks and earning respect and staying humble in this business is important. Staying grateful and humble, and where you got to perform every night, because every single player on that you play against, are All-Americans or really, really good players, and you're playing against the elite every night. Guys you haven't even heard of. Guys like T.J. McConnell are coming in. You better play good. Like, guys is one of the best players in the NBA Finals last year. There's just no nights off, and that's a hard lesson for many young guys to learn.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Svi Mykhailiuk, because last night I saw him have some on-ball defending that was just fantastic. I mean, they're playing some of the best, most dynamic players in the NBA, with LeBron's return, which was great, and, of course, Reeves and Doncic out there. And I saw multiple times if he was causing fits. Is that one of the reasons he's on the court, gets quite a few minutes, gets the start? And what else is it about Svi that gives him so much opportunity with this Jazz team?
I think that, he's able to make shots, and he competes at a high level. He's a strong, tough kid, and he's going to give you a good day's work every day. It doesn't mean he's going to make all his shots, but he plays hard. There's a guy that has had to do it the hard way. And, to get this opportunity to be a starter on an NBA team right now, he's put in his time, been on some good teams, and been an odd man out. But, even back in Kansas, when he was a 17-year-old, I saw him playing the Hoop Summit, and I really, really liked him a lot. I thought he was a big-time player, potentially a 2 or 3 year college player at the most, and be in the NBA. But, he got stuck behind some bigger names and at Kansas, and finally shined more as later in his Kansas career. But, he's just a humble, grateful, hardworking guy, day in and day out.
I remember a quote. This was a long time ago, so if I'm misquoting you, I apologize. But when LeBron James was bursting out on the scene as a high school player, I believe you said if he came out as a junior in high school, he'd still be the number 1 overall pick. Do you remember the first time you watched LeBron play?
Yeah, so I was in a high school tournament, and it was like 5 minutes into seeing him for the first time. And I think it was back east. It was New Jersey or Philly or somewhere like that. I don't remember the gym. I've been in so many gyms over the years. But he was playing against Carmelo. And I was watching him play, and I remember a Sports Illustrated reporter came up to me and said, what do you think about LeBron James? And I said, well, I would trade him right now for all but 5 guys in the league. And he goes, well, who are those 5 guys? I think I gave him a list of like Kobe and maybe Nowitzki and Tim Duncan, and anyway, the list of players. And so the guy came back to me about 5 or 6 years later, and he says, wow, I talked with a lot of NBA execs. You were the only one that was that strong on him and right on him. And I said, no, I was wrong on him. I should have said I'd trade him for every one of those players. But no, it was. But I did. I'm surprised that he said that because, I don't know how it can't be more obvious when LeBron was 17 years old playing how good he was. Carmelo was really good too. You could see that also, but LeBron was really, really special.
You think about it, 23rd season that he's playing in right now. It turns 41 here in just a couple weeks. 41, 23 seasons. And Scotty and I, we were doing the math on his postseason play. What did it equate to, Scotty?
I think like another 4 or 5 seasons.
It's like an extra 4, probably up to now 5 or 6 seasons if you just take his amount of postseason games with what he's put together. How hard is it to believe, Danny, that he's able to play that many years and still, I'm watching him last night. He doesn't get off the court like he used to, but he'll find a player and he'll find the dish wherever it needs to be. How impressive is that to you that he's played that long, that many postseason games and is at this age?
Yeah, so more than the length of his career, but the quality of his career has been pretty special. I mean, 23 years, but he's had 23 good years and probably 21 spectacular years, and he's still a good player. So yeah, I mean, I think the longevity and the excellence that he's achieved is very, very unique.
Danny Ainge joining us for his weekly conversation right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, when I say this, I'm not trying to get you into trouble. I'm just asking from a historic standpoint. Have you ever seen a ball boy get called for a delay of game for wiping up sweat when they're not supposed to?
I never have seen that, no.
I don't even know what to think, man. Like I know you got to put.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable.
Kid's just trying to do his job.
It was a critical point of the game too. It's not like it was just
it was critical.
It was critical.
And there was a wet spot. A guy had gone down to the court and rolled on the court. Like there was clearly a spot that needed to be cleaned up. So I don't. But I think the letter of the law probably is the referees need to call you out on the court before you go out there. But, all you got to do is wave them off the court and hand the ball into the other team if you don't want it wiped up. But it was clearly a wet spot also.
Unbelievable. Hey, Danny, I wanted to ask you just, the evolution of the game. We've talked a lot about the evolution, and I won't mention the particular player, but a lot of theatrics, a lot of kind of flopping motions go on in the NBA. In your time in the NBA, it felt like that was just more wrong. It feels like there's a bit of European flavor that's brought quite a touch of the theatrics. Where do you stand on the flopping and the acting to draw the whistle?
Well, Hans, I would say that, it has evolved over time and gotten more and more and more. But before I say anything critical of the play and of the officiating in that regard, I would say the last 2 years in the playoffs, so the last 8 teams playing, I think the officiating is as good as I've ever seen it.
Agreed.
Of not falling for the flopping.
Agreed.
And it's been refreshing to see the guys that go in and throw their arms out and the guys that fall down and their heads fall back. And that's been fun to watch. I love it when the refs don't blow the whistle. And, I see it over in Europe actually a lot more. You brought up European players, but in Europe, they do a lot of just lifting their arm up, just pulling their hand up from the elbow, just going get up, to flop. And I don't know why officials don't just simply say to some players, I'm not calling that, and because you're going to keep doing it. Just if you want a player to change, quit giving them the calls. So anyway.
Yeah, no, it seems spot on. You know, you talk about European players, and the MVP race has just been dominated by European players over the last several years. Can you tie all that kind of back to the generational moment in '92 in Barcelona with the Dream Team? Do you think that's when things really took off from a European standpoint in regards to developing players at this level?
I don't think. I think it was before that. I think it was when. For me, it was like Drazen Petrovic and Tony Kukoc and Vlade Divac. You know, like those were just three of the guys were all on the same team. And then you had, Luis Scola and our San Antonio player, Ginobili, like those guys on the Argentine team. I think that those teams were really, really good. And I think that's when it kind of started. And the fact that Kukoc and Divac and Drazen was on his way to being an all-star when he passed away way too young of age. But, like, those guys were really good. And I remember our Boston Celtics team went over there in the mid-'80s, and we saw them, and we beat them, but it was really good basketball, and we were impressed by those teams. And you could see different regions. And when a group of people grow up together and have that kind of success, it not only changes their own country's basketball, but it changes the world of basketball. But yeah, we got Giannis and Jokic and Luka right now are three of the best players in the world and have been. And that's good. That's great for basketball.
You got to go Shea with his Canadian roots too. You know,
oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Speaking of European players, I want to get your thoughts on Lauri Markkanen. He's obviously putting up all-star numbers, and he looks incredible. He looks different to me. It looks like he has more touch shots to me. I mean, this is just my football random observation, Danny, but it feels like he's got more touch shots. It feels like he's got just more feel, more flow. It's not as hard of a grind to get the points. What are you seeing on Lauri Markkanen's evolution? What's brought him to a 30.6 point per game average through the first few games here?
You know, just what we've talked about. I mean, I think that it's just a work and a joy for the game. And I think that he is playing with a good team. He's playing with a very good coach that gives him a few easy opportunities and teammates that really look for him on the back cuts that, you know, give him some baskets that are easier ones than ones that he has to earn on his own. Like last night, he had to work and earn a lot of the shots on his own last night. But he's more physical. He's put a lot of time in on his body. He's stronger, but he's initiating physical contact as an offensive player, initiating it, and it's been helpful to him. And he's just really developed through. And I think our coaches have done a good job of just helping him see that, watching a lot of film, and he's becoming a very, very, very complete player.
For so many years, Jazz fans would go to a game and they'd look at the bench and they'd see Jerry Sloan and Phil Johnson and Gordon Chiesa and Kenny Natmy, and that was about it. Now it feels like you've got two rows of coaches on every team, and every player almost has their own position coach as well. How much has that helped in the development of players get better throughout their NBA career?
Well, I'm probably from the old school, and I get in trouble for saying this, but I don't know how many coaches there can be. But I see so many coaches on the games, and we go to summer league. It looks like we have 30 coaches on our summer league team. But I feel like every coach or every player has the ability to have a connection, and sometimes you have one coach that is connected to 6 players, and they just really trust what he does, and then there's one player that connects with another coach in their way, and I think that's what Will has done a good job of, is putting good people around. That we have a lot of guys that really connect well with players, and that's one of Will's greatest strengths. Will grew up in a player development role, and I think he really enjoys being around the players also. and communicating with them. He's tough on them. He gets on them in the game, and not just the young players, but all the players. You know, he's taking Lauri out of the game for missing defensive assignments and getting on him, and Walker and Keontae. It doesn't matter who it is. And I think they respect that. And, you know, at the same time, he's developing relationships with these players.
I love watching
him coach hard. I think our coaches have done a good job, and I think Will has done a good job of putting a good coaching staff together. Yeah, even I'm just kind of joking about, like, there's so many. Yeah, I don't know how Larry Bird became such a great player with just two coaches, but somehow he did.
He didn't have a personal chef and two people to stretch his big toes. And, I mean, there's these guys, they get it all nowadays.
No doubt.
Well, Danny, we appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us as always, and look forward to catching up again next week.
Good luck against OKC.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. Good
there
talking.
You go. Good stuff. Danny Ainge right here on The Zone. By the way, you hear Danny Ainge 90% of the time every Wednesday. If not, we'll have his son Austin was with us last week. Ryan Smith might join us as well. So Wednesdays at 12:30. Lock it into your calendar.
It's going to be a Jazz conversation.
Yep.
And we'll go into depth on some things. So you just take on the Lakers. Luka Doncic leading the league in points per game. And now you get the favor of taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think is third or fourth in leading the league. So,
and what are they, 18-1, 17-1?
They were 14-1 the last time I looked.
I can look it up real quick. By the way, LeBron James has played, we were talking.
They're 14-1.
They're 14-1.
Yep.
LeBron James has played 292 playoff games. So you take 292 divided by 82. That's, roughly almost 4 years.
4 full seasons
of NBA basketball.
So now we're talking about 27-ish seasons of basketball.
Unbelievable.
And, I was looking at when we were getting ready to talk about LeBron to Danny, I was looking at those numbers. He's missed some games, but he's played a lot of deep seasons.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't missed as many games as maybe somebody might think.
Nope. All right, Hans and Scotty, what you may have missed coming up next. Then at 1 o'clock, we will transition right into your Cougar preview show. Do nothing but talk BYU football from 1 to 3 right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a huge Big 12 battle for the Cougars as they head to Cincinnati for a showdown against the Bearcats. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Woo!
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment brought to you by Mountain Land Supply, where the pros go for all your plumbing, landscaping, and agricultural irrigation needs. Find a location near you at mountainland.com. Well, we just talked about it with Danny Ainge, Hans. The Jazz, the Lakers, just a little too much. Luka Doncic, big night. LeBron James coming back as well. Jazz drop a tough one, but again, scoring points and certainly making it exciting out there.
Yeah, they get a couple nights now to rest, and then they've got Oklahoma City coming up on Friday. It's Friday, right? So they get
yes, the 21st. Is that Friday?
Or is it Thursday? I know they get 2 days. I think it's Thursday. It's Friday.
Tomorrow's Thursday, Friday.
That's Friday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So they do get a couple of days off, and that'll be good for them. But Mammoth are back home. They get a 4-game homestand, and that's going to be huge for them because they've been fantastic in Delta Center. The tough thing is you got the Vegas Knights coming in, and the Vegas Knights have been really good. We've got the Cougar preview show that's kicking off here in just a few minutes, and I wanted to just throw this out as we'll talk more in depth about it tomorrow in the Utah preview show. But Utah with a matchup against Kansas State. I was doing a little bit of research on Kansas State this morning, Scotty, and I'll tell you what, Matt Wells' crew, his offense is struggling.
Yeah.
That offense has straight up struggled. 91st in the country, only 355 yards. They're 89th in rushing, 82nd in passing, and that's a tough pill to swallow because we thought Avery Johnson would take the next step. We thought this Kansas State team would be really good. Turns out they're below the middle of the pack, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
One thing they do is force turnovers. They've forced 24 turnovers on the year. To put that in perspective, Utah's forced 13. BYU's forced 18. I was researching Cincinnati, getting ready for Cincinnati. They've forced 9. Kansas State's forced 24 turnovers. But they've lost 14. But that still puts them number 8 in the country at a +10 margin.
Yeah.
Crazy that they're losing at a +10 margin.
Yeah. We will have Frank. Oh, no, we will not have Frank.
No, Frank is ditching us.
Yeah, again. We appreciate your
I know
your
we do
help.
have a couple of people. Oh, Trevor Riley.
Nice.
Yeah, Trevor Riley's doing an hour tomorrow.
That's so cool.
So we'll get the goods. We'll get the deets.
Kick off the shoes and socks and hang out with Trevor Riley.
We'll get the goods on what type of fight went down outside of the Colorado practice facility.
And you know what? And Trevor, the one thing I love a lot about Trevor Riley, that dude has no filter.
No filter.
You ask him any question whatsoever, he will tell you everything you want to know.
Well, and he thinks outside of the box.
Yes.
I mean, who else thought to go to the Saudis for money for NIL?
Well, a lot of people now, but he was the first.
He was the first.
Yeah.
He was the first to get on a plane and do it.
Yep.
That dude is so fearless. Always has been.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favorite people.
Eds and Scotty, Cougar Preview Show next, right here on The Zone.
Let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a huge Big 12 battle for the Cougars as they head to Cincinnati for a showdown against the Bearcats. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Woo!
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, folks, gather around the radio. It's another edition of your Cougar Preview Show, getting you ready for a big one. It is BYU squaring off against Cincinnati. Biggest game of the year remaining for the Cougars as they hit the road and play. I'm trying to think, what's Cincinnati? No, it's the city of the Skyline Chili, I guess. I'm trying to think, there's a city of lights, there's a city of enchantment. I don't know if Cincinnati has anything really going for them.
Well, I know they've got an NFL team, which is something we don't have.
That's true.
I sure would love to have that.
I'm not hating on Cincinnati. I have actually not really spent any time there.
I've only been there, I think I've been there 3 times. And every time I go, it's the same scene.
Yeah.
It's the same deal. But this is a bit of a change. Headed out to go call this BYU-Cincinnati game. I don't know what the fan base is going to look like after the loss last week against Arizona at home. I don't know if they're still overly committed. I don't know if it's going to be a passionate crowd. I don't know what exactly they're playing for. They've already hit bowl eligibility. They've already done a lot of good things. They've already suffered the losses, starting with a loss to Nebraska to start the season and then putting together a couple losses to Utah and Arizona. So I feel like they're going to be kind of mentally out of it. Maybe the fans will be mentally out of it. The coach is probably going to continue to try to surround them to get going. But, Scotty, I've been thinking about this because I sat around and waited through the evening for the stupid reveal show and the top 25 CFP and blah, blah, blah. And I was hoping they do the right thing and put BYU in the top 10 because they deserve it. Too many 2-loss teams above BYU and too many 2-loss teams under BYU with an opportunity to give a 1-loss team a second loss. And I know people are thinking, well, wait a second. If USC beats Oregon, that'll drop Oregon below BYU. No, I think that keeps Oregon and then bumps USC up above BYU. You can tell what the committee is already trying to do.
Yes, they're laying the groundwork.
So I was all caught up in it last night, and I was starting to get mad. And I thought, you know what? Screw this.
I love your tweet.
It's not about this.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not about this, man. It's not about the college football playoffs yet or right now. It's about a Big 12 championship.
Yep.
You know what bugs me? Let's go back to when Utah was making the runs to Pac-12 championships. How often did we sit there and say, oh, wait, Final Four, oh, college football play? No, it was like, holy cow, they got to a Pac-12 championship. That's a big-time accomplishment. Holy cow, they won a Pac-12 championship. That's even a bigger accomplishment. That's incredible.
They're going to a Rose Bowl.
BYU is only in their 3rd year in the Big 12. And if you would have told me that they were going to be in competition for a Big 12 championship game with 2 teams left to play against at the end of the season, I would tell you, first of all, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. I don't know what future you were looking at, but you got a true freshman quarterback. You lost your receivers. You lost 3 of your offensive linemen. You lost really your 3 defensive linemen that did anything. Tyler Batty, Blake Mengelson, and John Nelson. You lost those 3. What are you even talking about, man? You got a true freshman quarterback, dude. You're going to have growing pains. You're going to start the season probably 3-3. You know, you're going to have to fight through a couple of these Big 12 games. None of that exists right now. It's BYU, Cincinnati, 2 games left, win them, and you get a rematch against Texas Tech.
Yep. You control your own destiny. Everything you want. And that's why I think people are BYU fans, and I love you put it, because I'm the same way. Like, I have a hard time not looking at that in regards to BYU and Utah not getting mad and getting upset. I mean, it's just our natural tendency to be like, ugh, you know, why is this?
Yeah, why are you overlooking us? Why are we always marginalized? Why do we always get put aside?
Exactly. And then you realize, well, wait a minute. Okay, that's the beauty of being in the Big 12. That's the beauty of the situation BYU is in, and to a certain extent Utah, even though Utah's going to need some help. But if you're BYU, all of this noise doesn't really matter. What matters is, as you put it, going to a Big 12 title game. You win your final 2 games, you go to a Big 12, and then you see Texas Tech. And if you beat Texas Tech, it doesn't matter what the committee thinks of you.
Doesn't matter.
You're in.
You're in.
It's that simple.
So, you know, I just wanted to kind of refocus myself on air, maybe help refocus some of Cougar Nation on air, because we're looking past all this and we're like, yeah, but the CFP, forget it, man. When did the CFP become the standard of BYU? The standard of BYU is go get a conference championship. Like, if you can go get a conference championship, then things are really kicking off and things are really going well for you. So I just kind of wanted to reset that today, that you go 2-0 over these next 2 games, very winnable games. I was watching the Arizona game back again this morning, and, you know, Cincinnati comes out. Arizona gets a little pressure. First play, second play of the game, Sorsby throws an interception to Arizona. Arizona goes right down the field, scores a touchdown.
Bam.
Now, Arizona gave up some leaks and some big runs right up the gut. And if Cincinnati does anything well, it's rushing offense. They put close to 200 yards per game on the ground. They're pretty decent in their rushing game. But this is a very beatable team, and if you beat Cincinnati, now UCF's going to be interesting because UCF might be coming into Provo playing for bowl eligibility. There's a good chance that when UCF comes into Provo, they're going to be playing for bowl eligibility. So that's not even a game that you can just write off and say, oh, you know, look, that's going to be a win, because UCF plays Oklahoma State this weekend.
W.
So that puts them at 5 wins. So if UCF's at 5 wins, what are they doing when they come into Provo?
Yep. I mean, that'll snap a 3-game losing skid they're on. They'll beat Oklahoma State, and then you mentioned, they'll be 5-6 with a chance to get to 6-6 against BYU.
So UCF is going to be a difficult game as well. I know that they've been back and forth with their quarterback situation, but
only 1 win in Big 12 play, and that's a dump truck against West Virginia.
They've had a couple close games.
Yeah.
A couple one-score games, but I do think that's going to be a game that you don't want to overlook, because UCF could bite you. So ultimate focus, Big 12 championship is the goal. Anything over that is just icing on the cake.
Yeah. You could not be more correct on this. And that's what I think is really important, because before you put the pitchforks and the torches and try to storm the gates, if you're BYU fans, be upset. That's totally fine. But just know this isn't the be-all of all existence. This isn't how you measure your worth, because there is a path for you to get into that college football playoff. But that's not what's important right now. winning a conference championship, that's important. Getting to the conference title game, that's
one.
important. Your fans that have bought tickets to Arlington, don't screw them over again.
Yeah.
Too many people bought tickets to Arlington last year and had to burn those tickets or just
people
show up and support two teams that they didn't really care about. So don't do that.
Some did still go and use their tickets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of people on social media with signs saying,
posting their signs.
I didn't really want to be here without BYU, but here we are.
Yeah, and they're BYU.
So because I do think when you've got impressionable young men, they can get sucked up into the anger and the disrespect. And if I'm Kalani Sitake, I really hit home on this. All of our goals are still in front of us. Everything we want to accomplish is still there and available for you. All you have to do is win games. That's it. You don't have to worry about somebody beating somebody and this other team beating that. That's Utah. Utah's got to get some help to get there. BYU needs zero help. All they have to do is win, and everything they want is right there on the table for them.
So I sent out that tweet. I said I've gotten a little too caught up in CFP talk when BYU is just 2 wins away from being in the Big 12 championship game. CFP be damned. BYU playing a Big 12 championship game would be next level for Cougar Nation. And Texas Tech is not undefeated. ASU showed the way.
Yeah.
And now Texas Tech fans are in my mentions.
Of course they are.
Holy cow, man. This guy says, what are you going to do, kneecap our starting quarterback in a parking lot? We're 10-0 with Morton taking the snaps. This guy said, ASU showed you the way. You had a bye week to prepare, and you still got BTA. What was that?
I think that isn't that beat their earth.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
But that doesn't sound like that works with how he – but then again, that's logical English, and I'm not sure if that's really common in Lubbock.
Sorry, you say BTA?
Yeah.
That's belt 2.
Oh,
belt.
Belt.
Yeah, belt.
Ah, okay.
There you go. All right, well, appreciate that.
That one makes sense.
See, that's why we got to have Christian close.
This guy says ASU played Tech at home without Morton, and Texas Tech was focused on throwing tortillas. Sanctioning a hit on Morton seems morally wrong. Like there's.
So they're thinking that you said take out the quarterback.
I don't know what they. Yeah, I mean they're assuming all kinds of things.
Oh, for crying out loud!
But I would say Texas Tech fans are very alert right now.
Oh yeah,
and that was a crazy road game, and that was a crazy environment, and Tech fans feel ownership right now. Ownership of the Big 12, ownership of the CFP, ownership. Well, what the numbers are telling us right now is the CFP really only wants one team out of the Big 12.
Yes.
Hey, so guess what?
Might as well be you.
Does that go for an 11-2 Texas Tech team? Wait. What would it be if BYU beat them?
BYU, they'd be 11-2.
11-2, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
2 losses to Arizona State and 1 to BYU. So they'd be 11-1 going into the conference.
2 to BYU and 1 to Arizona State, right? Oh no. What? Oh.
Yeah, I'm saying if they lose to BYU in the conference championship game, then
2 losses.
They would have 2 losses. They'd be 11-2.
Okay, so is the CFP just going to say, well, yeah, they paid a lot of money. Yeah, they got big numbers. I mean, maybe.
Right now, I don't think that would be the case. Where did they stack up? They came in at number 5. If they're number 5 and BYU beats them in a conference championship game, I think they're still in. But if BYU loses that conference championship game, BYU's not in.
Not the way things are currently put together, no. So I just look at everything that's in front of BYU, and I've got a lot of hope. I'm excited for BYU. I'm excited for Cougar fans because they've been treated to an incredible season, and there's still so much in front of you. And I don't know why or how we got this CFP thing stuck so hard in our heads that it's CFP or bust.
Yeah.
For me, going into the season, it was 7 wins or bust.
Yeah, I know, right? But, also look at this from – this college football playoff committee, don't think that they're not without the understanding of storylines. There's a reason BYU is 11 and Utah is 12. There's a reason Miami isn't between BYU and Utah. There's a reason Vanderbilt's not between BYU and Utah. They're playing to the crowd. They want storylines, and so they want to rattle the state of Utah's cage. They want to rattle the Big 12's cage. They're not above trying not to have a little bit of fun with what they're putting together. So don't for a second think that it's an accident that BYU and Utah are listed right next to each other on that cut line. No, they're what do you call it? Rage baiting for sure.
Yeah. In our next segment, we're going to jump into Cincinnati. I'm going to give you some ideas of what BYU's chances are to get a win in Cincinnati, some things that Cincinnati does really well, and then I'm going to talk about the thing that is most surprising to me. Outside of Bear Bachmeier, what is most surprising to me so far in this BYU football season?
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty Cheer. That's right. Yeah! On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, it's a Wednesday, which means it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. You win a 4-pack of tickets. See the Jazz and the Lakers. That's right, a rematch at the Delta Center coming up on November 23rd, coming up next week.
All right, Scott, a couple things here with this BYU-Cincinnati matchup.
Yeah.
Number one, I mentioned something that I'm overly impressed with. Let's go back to 2023. BYU was able to muster up a total of 11 sacks through the 2023 season.
Yep.
Okay, going to 2024, it was better, but they still mustered up 20 sacks in 13 games in 2024. So it was much better. The pressures were better. Interceptions were great. BYU through 10 games has put together 25 sacks. They've got an opportunity to break the 30 barrier. They've got an opportunity to triple what they did in 2023. Let's just say they play 3 more games.
Yeah, at least.
And let's say they average just 2 per game, which their average right now is 2.5 per game. So let's just say that they hit their average.
Yeah.
Then we're looking at 31, 32, maybe 33 sacks on the season. You get into that Big 12 championship game. So now let's take a look at where the sacks are coming from. Jack Kelly leads the team with 7 sacks. So Jack Kelly's been the sack master, the way they've gone odd front. So against last week against TCU, they went all odd front the whole game. Never saw them go even front. All odd front. Typically, Keanu Tanavasa lined up over the center. Either Vilpuha or Bodie Schoonover at the defensive end. And then they were running either Tassili Akana or Logan Latui at the other defensive end. They were rotating in Hunter Clegg, and they were able to get pressure on the odd front. Now, go back 2 weeks ago against Texas Tech, all even front. I don't even think they went odd front one time against Texas Tech. So what they did there is they went Keanu Tanavasa, John Taumapeu at the 2-3-eye techniques, and then they went Logan Latui, Bodie Schoonover, and Hunter Clegg, and Vilpuha at the other end. They went even front and still got 4 sacks. So they still have 4 sacks against Texas Tech, 4 sacks against TCU. They've racked up 8 in the last 2 games. And so you're starting to see their sacks and their pressures and their techniques and their rushes. It's all coming along really well.
Before you continue on, is that just a personnel issue on going even against Tech and then odd last week, or is it what you're seeing offensively? Like why the sudden change? Because that's a pretty distinct switch.
It is. It's O-line. So it's based off your O-line. If you got an O-line that's heavily capable in combo blocks and gets good push, then you got to throw down another anchor defensive lineman.
So you go even.
If you've got a center, which BYU abused TCU's center, abused him. If you got a center that you feel like you can get push on, then you take your nose tackle and you put him in a 0 or you put him on a plus-minus, and you just let him attack the center. So 100% based on what you feel with the offensive line front and what you can get away with. Because if I've got the luxury of running an odd front, I can throw so many different blitz schemes in there. Because with an odd front, I've got my 3 downs, I can walk my 3 backers up, and I can put 5 across the line. And I can run all kinds of bait and switch, all kinds of stunts, all kinds of angled slants. That's how Jack Kelly's getting a lot of his heat. Is you run that even front, Jack walks up to the line of scrimmage, and he can hit one of 3 different gaps on a pass rush.
Or can drop back
or can fall into coverage.
Yeah.
So even on the odd front that they ran last week, they ran a lot of 3-man rush. They did a lot of 3-man rush and dropped 8.
So just to maybe this is oversimplifying it, but I think this is a good nugget people can take to the water cooler. If you're going up against a really good rushing attack with really good offensive line, more often than not, you're seeing an even front.
I would go even front. Yeah.
And then so sometimes you'll see a team starting an odd front, and if they're getting gashed, they'll make the switch to an even front throughout the course of a game.
Right. And if you've got a team that you feel like you can confuse, you do what you did to Colorado in that bowl game.
You do everything.
And you did everything. You threw everything.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was sitting there with Greg Wrubell calling the game, and every other play I'm seeing different formations, different personnel, different. And I'm like, geez, every play. Against TCU, same formations. You rotated 2 or 3 different guys up front and 2 or 3 different guys in the second line of defense. Max Alford played a lot. I don't have an update on Max Alford. He went out in that game, but Max Alford played a lot. Ace Kafusi played a lot. They were able to rest Jack Kelly through most of the fourth quarter and even parts of the third quarter because they felt like they had that game in hand. So Ace Kafusi got a lot of reps, and Jack was able to get a little bit more rest, which is good. You need to be able to put Jack on ice as quick as you can because he's the key. Jack's the key defensively. L.J. Martin's the key offensively. When you got those 2 guys clicking at top-end speed, you got a chance. Guess who you didn't have clicking against Texas Tech? Those 2 guys.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to give over my skis on this and
get stuck in the college football playoff weeds.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But, you know, I keep looking forward to that Texas Tech game. I want that game back.
Yes, I think you got Utah who can say the same thing about Devin Dampier and his inability to really produce at a high level against Texas Tech. And certainly BYU's looking at like, hey, our 2 big guns weren't great in that game.
I watched that Arizona State-Texas Tech game in detail, and I watched what they did with Sam Leavitt. The game plan that Arizona State ran with couldn't have been more opposite than what BYU ran with. BYU went so much max protect because they got a true freshman, and Texas Tech has a lot of guys that like to hit people, and you get your true freshman hit on the blind side a few times, it rattles the brain. And so I totally understand why Aaron Roderick did what he did. I guess I can promise you that Aaron Roderick won't go status quo if he gets that shot at Texas Tech again. See, I get thinking, I get going way too far out. My brain doesn't want to sit here on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But if you just stop and take a look at Cincinnati, they're a problem in the run game. They've got a really good run game. Both Sorsby and their running back can gash you. And they put up about 200 yards a game. Outside of that, they're not terrific at anything.
Yeah.
Their passing game is mediocre. Their defense is mediocre. Their rushing defense, their passing defense is mediocre. Their turnover margin, very mediocre. They're all square on the season. Nine turnovers for, 9 turnovers lost. They are 23 in scoring offense. They put up 34 points a game. So maybe that's where Cincinnati excels. 34 points a game, that's good.
Yeah, but you look at their 2 last losses. Utah roughed them up. They only had 14 in that game, and then they only got 24 against Arizona. So they've been well off their average. And you look at their wins. They put 37 on Kansas, 38 on Iowa State, only 20 against Central Florida, 49 against Oklahoma State. There's a reason why we looked at Cincinnati at the beginning of the year and said, watch out for them.
Yeah.
Because of their schedule.
Right. Because of their schedule and their quarterback.
Yeah.
Their quarterback is really good. Sorsby's good. And Tawi Walker, their running back, is really good. But here's what I love. I love teams in terms of BYU's defense. I love teams that I can identify it and I can say, we'll take that down. We'll take that out.
Yeah.
Because BYU's got the defensive personnel that they can say, oh, they want a niche? We'll take out their niche. BYU, as long as Jack Kelly has air in his lungs, BYU can contain any quarterback in the country.
Mm-hmm.
If that's their design, and that's going to be their design with Sorsby, they'll spy him, and they'll make sure Sorsby doesn't pick up any spare third downs or spare fourth downs with his feet. And they're going to hit him every time he tries to leave the pocket. But you look at the different quarterbacks that they've played where they've focused on a dual threat, they chop him in half.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there might be moments that it's like, oh, boy, he's getting away with it in a quarter. He won't in the second quarter. Or he might get away with it in the second quarter. He won't in the third quarter because they can absolutely throw a defense at him with Jack Kelly, Glasgow, and Cialia Sierra that will stop him. And what I do love, if one of those three guys is busy with something, now you got Faletau Satawala, who's a quarterback killer. And I'm trying to remember what game it was. Was it Colorado? Was it Salter that Satawala broke in half?
Yeah.
I think it was Salter. I think it was the Colorado game.
Dude's never been the same since.
It might have been Arizona. It might have been Noah Fifita. It was actually both. I know he had hits on both. But what I'm saying is you can rotate your spy, and now you can have a baller like Faletau Satawala get involved. So when I look at Cincinnati's offense, and when I watched the Utah-Cincinnati game, which I'll go back and watch it again, but I watched it the first time, and that's what they did. They keyed on Sorsby, made sure the ball was out of his hands. They clogged lanes with Tawi Walker. And I do think that this is the type of offense, and I don't have any insights into what BYU's defensive game plan is, but I do think that this is a team that you can rotate some odd and even based on what formations and personnel they put in. I think you can rotate some odd and even, run probably a little bit more odd front, and get after Sorsby.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that we really need to look at is Sorsby's only been sacked 3 times. This is the number 1 team in the country in protecting their quarterback. So this is a big test for BYU. It might not be about the sack, but it will be about the pressure.
Yep.
And this is something that I always talk about with BYU, because 25 sacks is great, and they've made a lot of strides. If you sack a quarterback, what can't happen? A pressured interception.
Yeah.
What's been happening a lot for the last couple of years for BYU? Pressured interceptions.
Yeah.
If those equate to sacks, sack is great, and it's great. I'll rack it up. But last week, the Faletau Satawala interception, that came off the Tausili Akana pressure. The Tanner Wall pick 6, that came off was it Hunter Clegg? I think it was Hunter Clegg. That came off another pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, so maybe you don't sack Sorsby, but you dang well better hit him and pressure him, because he will turn the ball over. He will throw the ball to the wrong team.
Yes.
Did it right out of the gates against Arizona. So,
and he gets the ball off quick. He doesn't want to take hits. So offensive line has done a good job protecting him, but make no mistake, he's had a lot to do with only being sacked 3 times, because he'll get rid of the ball quickly, and he doesn't want to get hit, so he's going to throw it up in areas that's going to give you opportunities to come away with interceptions.
Yeah, he's very good, man. 500 yards of offensive rushing. He's actually matched pretty squarely with Bear Bachmeier. Bear Bachmeier's numbers almost mirror Sorsby. Listen to Sorsby's numbers. 2,200 passing yards, 500 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, 22 passing touchdowns. I think Bear's got 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
And is it 12 or is it 13 passing touchdowns? But he's right there, 2190 on his yardage. Sorsby's completion percentage is down a little bit. Sorsby's at 60%. Bear Bachmeier's just over 60. I think he's 62%.
Bear Bachmeier is at 63.2. He's got 2,177 yards passing, 13 touchdowns through the air, 10 on the ground with 479 yards on the ground.
Very similar numbers.
So there's going to be some opportunities there for BYU defensively. I think Sorsby is a guy you can rattle, and I fully anticipate Jay Hill will do just that. Hans and Scotty coming up a little bit later on. Mitchell Juergens will join us coming up at 2:05. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It's a huge Big 12 battle for the Cougars as they head to Cincinnati for a showdown against the Bearcats. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's your Cougar preview show. Mitch Juergens is going to join us coming up here in a bit, get his thoughts on what to expect out of Cincinnati as the Cougars hit the road. Final road game of the year before Arlington for the Utes, or for the Cougars, excuse me. Ooh. Now I got everybody mad at me.
Yeah, for a couple reasons. You're teasing Arlington, and you're saying the wrong team.
I'm just going scorched earth on everything here. That was a jinx. If you're a Cougar fan, that was a jinx towards Utah. If you're a Utah fan, no, it's me assuming that you're going to be there. Which way you want to take it.
However you want to go.
Whichever gets me least amount of Twitter responses, angry Twitter responses.
I don't know if you're going to be able to stop that now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, cat's out of the bag now. All right, so BYU hits the road. Cincinnati, I don't anticipate, Hans, I know this is your first trip out there, but I don't anticipate an overall volatile crowd in Cincinnati. There's some places you go to where you actually feel that animosity, you feel the pressure. You said you felt it at Texas Tech. I don't think Cincinnati is going to bring a overall horrific home field advantage that BYU is going to be walking into. I think they're going to be in pretty good shape in that one.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
Everything I've heard from people that have made that trip said, like, yeah, not bad.
Really?
We'll be all right. Yeah. So we'll see. Overall, they're reporting some pretty good crowds on the season for them, but I don't know, man. I think when you lose two games like they've lost, it takes the wind out of the sails. It's a little bit like BYU last year when they started out 9-0 and then boom, loss, and you know the season's pretty much over. They get hammered by Utah. They lose at home to Arizona, and so now you're looking at a team that's reeling. They had about 36,000 in the stands for that Arizona game. So I don't anticipate you're going to see an overly aggressive, volatile situation that BYU is going to be running into.
36,000? Do you know what that stadium holds?
I don't. Let's see. The biggest crowd that they've had there this year has been 38,000.
I don't know if it holds more
than that. Okay, I bet it's 38,007. Yeah, because they had that against Iowa State and they had that against Baylor, so that must be their capacity. Just over 38,000.
Do you believe in the theory that BYU gets everybody's best shot?
Right now, I think they do, not because they're BYU. In the Mountain West, and when you're playing teams that have familiarity with BYU, I think they got everybody's best shot because they were BYU. I think they're getting everybody's best shot right now because they're a one-loss team in the conference. And so you've got a Cincinnati team like, all right, let's at least spoil their season. Eventually that's going to come where BYU is going to be maybe thought of like they were in the Mountain West, and they'll come after BYU because they're BYU, but I don't think they're there yet in the Big 12. Remember, BYU's been nothing but gracious and running food drives at everybody's stadium. They're nice. Everybody, they've gotten a little bit of sympathy because of the Bleep the Mormons chat. Everybody's doing everything they can to try to stay on the right side of that and not get, they don't want to be the ones getting in trouble for that nonsense. So I think BYU's in pretty good shape as far as that goes. But eventually, BYU keeps winning and putting together 9, 10, 11 win seasons. Yeah, they're going to get after BYU just because they're BYU.
Okay, let's think about this a little bit. So where is Cincinnati's mentality coming into this game? Because they're 5-2 in conference play, so they're still in that 2-game scrum or that 2-loss scrum with Arizona State, Houston, and Utah. So they're still in the mix, but if they look at any of the tie-breaking theories, they'll see that they're out.
They're out because
they're out in every one of them.
When there's a big scrum of teams, the tiebreaker is the strength of essentially your schedule, the strength of your quality wins. Well, when Cincinnati lost to Arizona, that pretty much threw them out of loops because they don't really have a lot of good wins I mean, you look at their wins in conference: Kansas, Iowa State, Central Florida, Oklahoma State, Baylor. They don't have any wins against Texas Tech, no wins against Utah. If they lose to BYU, no win against BYU. I mean, there's no quality win. If they beat BYU, that's their best win of the season by a mile. So I guess in that rationale, maybe that's what they're looking to do. But no tiebreakers go their way at all.
Trying to put my mind into their mind space. A couple of losses back-to-back. One embarrassing there to Arizona in their own home. They had so many different hopes and goals. So a lot of those are crushed.
Yep.
I kind of feel like they're going to come out and they're going to try to redeem themselves. In front of their fans. Redeem themselves. So if I'm preparing for BYU, if I'm a BYU defensive lineman or an offensive lineman, I'm expecting to get their absolute best.
I also think if you throw a punch early on and you're up 2 touchdowns late in the first quarter, I think they'll fold.
You start to crack.
Yeah.
Yeah, very possible.
All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
Kyle Whittingham and the Utes return home for a battle against Kansas State. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, it is your Cougar preview show right here on the Zone. Hans and I have been breaking this game down from every angle, but let's get the real insight.
The real brains.
Yes. The man that can consume 20,000 calories a day and still look like he's chiseled out of granite. It's former BYU legend Mitch Juergens joining us. Mitch, how are you?
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing good.
So Hans keeps talking about this pizza you guys had. Where was it? In Lubbock?
Yeah, it was in Lubbock.
So good.
Yeah.
It was a real deal, huh?
Yeah, it was. What was it like? It was like a little college party house type of deal. It's called Cosmic Pizza. The pizza was like in the very back, and you had to go through a crowd of people. Nobody was actually there trying to eat pizza, but we tentatively ordered 2 pieces each, and then Mitch and I bit into the 2 pieces. We're like, hold on,
there are gonna be more than 2.
We're gonna belly up to the bar for a bit.
Yeah.
So
I'm still dreaming of those crispy pepperonis. They were like so
Hans,
crispy and good.
You mentioned that.
yeah, there was the pepperoni
so
that kind of bakes up. It almost cups, and
Yep.
the edge is crisp, but the pepperoni's thick enough, and the crust was really thin, nice crispy crust. It was good, man. I mean, I don't know, Mitch. We've had some good meals on the road, but I don't know why that one stands out as the most memorable.
Maybe because the whole time we were there too. I don't know if we could really have a conversation. It was so loud.
It was really loud.
Just music blaring. I mean, it was the ultimate college town. But that pizza was a memory.
Man, you talk about that trip though, Scotty. Like that road that the pizza place was on. I mean, Mitch, there was probably 8,000-10,000 people along that road, stuffed into all the different places. The roads were packed, and it was like 11 o'clock, midnight.
Yeah,
that place is hopping. That Texas Tech is they're feeling it out there, aren't they?
Yeah, not much else out there in Lubbock.
Hey, I was telling Scotty about the dogs that were chasing our car. Can you confirm that we had dogs chasing our car right by the stadium?
Dogs, armadillos, who knows?
It's like,
was wild.
It's like Hawaii when you got the chickens running around everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Wild chickens.
Hey, so I think everybody is looking at, speaking of Texas Tech, you look at we need a rematch. We need a rematch, and everybody wants to see that. But you got to take care of business first on the road against Cincinnati. Where's your concern level for this game?
Every game in the Big 12, I think it's hard to go in completely confident in any matchup in the Big 12, and I think that's what we're learning with. 1 week Arizona State looks great, the next week they don't, and it happens with Cincinnati. I mean, we saw a really good stretch with Cincinnati where, honestly, I was getting a little bit more nervous about Cincinnati than Texas Tech at one point, and then that flips completely. And so To say I'm feeling confident, I don't know if I can say that, but to be optimistic, I think BYU showed us last week that they can be the complete football team that we've all thought they could be. Every phase of the game, from special teams to defense to offense, they looked the part. You could tell they came in with a mission, with a job to do. They knew what they had to do to get it done, and they executed. And it was really clean. Now, with that said, I mean they had all the pieces. They were healthy. You fast forward to this week on Saturday, and they seem very healthy. It seems like the right things are happening at the right time for BYU to finish the season strong. And so, based on the performance looking last week against TCU, I'm confident that they can get it done in multiple ways with how effective each of the different phases of the game looked for BYU.
Mitch, grade the BYU wide receivers for me as a position group, and then give me some thoughts here, because the last couple of games you had the big drop by JoJo Phillips against Texas Tech. You had the drop with Parker Kingston in that opening drive that would have been a touchdown. Another drop by JoJo in that game against TCU. But then you get these incredible moments from these receivers. Give me a grade and kind of point out some areas where they really excel and maybe an area where they could do better.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a good B+. B+ is, it's a good grade. Like, they're going to come in, they're going to do their job, they're going to make some plays, they're going to do some astonishing things, which, again, to your point, we've seen. The rise of Parker Kingston has been really impressive. Not something that coming into the year that I honestly thought would happen to this extent. I believed in him. He's a playmaker, and we all saw that. But to be a true all-around, multiple tool wide receiver, it's just been really impressive to see. With that said, I'd love to see more consistency. So I think that's the thing that gets them from being an A- to an A is just a lack of consistency, because they have those drops every single one of the receivers has been in that situation. We talked about JoJo Phillips, Parker Kingston, even Chase Roberts has dropped some balls, and so I think just to be a little bit more consistent, I think that's what gets them into that A grade territory. With that said, though, and maybe one of the reasons why I wouldn't put them down in the B or B- range is, in addition to just catching the ball, there's so much more that you can do to contribute offensively, and one of them is downfield pass blocking. And there was a play last week against TCU, the big play that Carson Ryan scored on. The only reason why he had a clean path to the end zone was the blocking downfield by the receivers, and that's what you've got to see from a receiving core. Is it's fun to make the big catch, it's fun to make the big play to score the touchdown, but what's even more fun the next day in film review is to say, like, hey, I know I can catch the ball, but look at me dominate this DB and clear that clean path for Carson Ryan into the end zone, and that's what they did. And so I've been impressed with that. I think Fessie's done a good job in making sure that if you're not contributing through the air, you're contributing on the ground in the run block game. And so that's one of the areas where I have been impressed, because that's just grit, that's well coaching. That's players that want it more than the other team does, and that's what I've really liked, especially from that receiver group.
When you're sitting in a meeting and you're going over game film that you've had, Mitch, as a receiver, how does your receiver coach, or how does a coach classify a drop? Because I struggle at times. There's certain passes that hit hands, and I'm like, oh, that would have been an amazing catch, but I don't know if I classify that as a drop.
Yeah, the primary rule is if it hits your hands, you catch the ball. Now, there are times when you're completely leaving your body and you put fingertips on the ball and you don't have time or the ability to potentially bring that ball to your chest to secure it. That would never be considered a drop. I think that's just one of those spectacular plays that, if made, you're showing up on SportsCenter top 10. But the primary rule of thumb is going to be if it hits your hands, you got to secure it. But especially if you have an opportunity, because to bring it in, like you look at the Parker Kingston drop on that first drive, and yeah, he left his feet, and it would have been a difficult catch, but he had enough where having that ball come in and hit his hands, he could have gotten that to his chest before he hit the ground. And if that's the case, then, I'm pretty sure that's going to be ruled as a drop. But with all the drops, I do love the way that they all respond. I think that's a test of true character as well. Is if it's drop after drop after drop, then that's something mentally is going on there where it's hard for that player to rebound. But the receivers have done a good job where if they do drop a ball, it's like, okay, I can't let it happen again, and then they make the big play on third or fourth down.
Just out of curiosity, from your experience as a receiver, where does a drop usually come from? Is it about trying to make a move after the catch and you're just ahead of schedule a little bit? What do you credit a lot of drops to? Yeah,
lack of focus at times, and most of that is, hey, I've got my eyes downfield. I'm trying to make the next guy miss. I'm worried about where the defender is on either side of me, and so I'm thinking about too many things and not enough on just making sure that I secure the catch. I think that's primarily where it comes from, and then at times too. I mean, when you have good DBs that you're going up against, and they make you do some different things as a receiver, knowing that I've got to be a little bit better than the other guy. I mean, that's where a really good DB can cause some problems, because not only can they potentially bat it down, but even if they're not, you've always got that concern of where is he? Is he going to make a play? And that can get in somebody's head too.
Mitch, one injury that kind of evaded me that you didn't really notice, but then you see that he's not out on the field against TCU is Cody Hagan. How much does Cody Hagan missing in the receiver room hurt? And have you heard anything on Cody Hagan? Did you even see it when he left the Texas Tech game?
I didn't. And so I think that one came as a shock to all of us. I mean, the hope is they can get him back. And he is a missing piece. I mean, he's one of those gadget guys. We've seen him score on some two very long runs just with his speed on that little tornado reverse or tornado, whatever you want to call it, that Cody scored on twice. And it's hard to replace speed, and Cody has undeniable speed on the field. As a receiver, though, I think, it did help that by losing Cody, at least you have JoJo back. JoJo does add a different skill set that maybe Cody hasn't stepped into as much, just being younger in his career, where JoJo seems to be a receiving threat all over the field. He can run the drags, he can run the deep posts, he can run the deep balls. And, I haven't seen, it's something that I want to believe that Cody has. And I think he does. He has a skill set. I don't think he'd be at BYU if he didn't. But they haven't kind of opened that up for him yet as they have for JoJo. And so at least with missing Cody, you've got JoJo that can step in and be kind of a true receiving threat all over the field. And it just may mean you rely a little bit more on Parker Kingston to run those, jet sweeps and end arounds. And because, he's got undeniable speed as well. It just puts a little bit more workload on him.
Looking at last year in terms of tight ends, Keanu Hill had 12 catches for 108 yards to lead all tight ends. You had Isaac Rex, who had 34 for 422 and 3 touchdowns the year before in 2023. Carson Ryan's already at 28 with 371 and 3 touchdowns, and he still has 2, 3, maybe 4 games left before the season's over. We knew he could block. We knew he was good in that side, but how has he impressed you as a receiver?
Really impressive. Before the receivers started kind of making these eye-popping catches, it was all Carson Ryan. Carson Ryan making the one-handed grabs. Carson Ryan going up and over defenders. I think that was against Stanford, maybe. And it was all Carson Ryan. I mean, he's a true dual threat tight end that is lethal in the run block game, but when you need him on third down, they've dialed up a number of third down plays specifically for Carson Ryan, and it seems like a sure catch when Bear throws it his way. And I've been very impressed with his ability to be, to play a pass catching tight end role for BYU, but also not let that sacrifice his ability to impact the game in the run game.
Mitch, I try not to get myself in trouble with this, but because we're not players, I feel like we can talk about it. I want to see a BYU Texas Tech rematch. And I feel like BYU can put a much better show up against Texas Tech. When you watch that game and we saw LJ go out and Jack Kelly go out and Siali Asera go out, and we saw all the drop balls, we saw the -3, the muffed punt, everything that happened in that game. Don't you feel like BYU can truly put up a better performance on a neutral field, or a somewhat of a neutral field, I guess Arlington would be? But don't you feel like they could put up a much better showing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that they can, because what we saw was not what we've been seeing. And what gives me confidence in BYU's ability to, play them a lot differently and a lot better is, as I go back and look, and even throughout the game, it felt like a very conservative approach. Conservative play calling, not wanting to put Bear in situations where he'd make a mistake. But then because of that, it almost the pressure of the game just felt like we weren't letting them play loose and free. And there's a lot of really good talent on that offense for BYU. Speed to natural ability to LJ Martin being, I'd say the top back in the Big 12, like letting them truly play kind of carefree. And then, all eyes go to Bear Bachmeier and the impressive, run that he's been on in his freshman season. And I want to see a little bit more autonomy if BYU plays them again, just to let Bear do what Bear does. And if you kind of take that pressure off that offense to say, hey, it doesn't matter. If you make a mistake, it's okay, because we're going to rebound. Our defense is in a good spot. But letting them kind of be a little bit more aggressive rather than conservative, I think that game looks completely different. Now, I'm not going to come out and say that it's a guaranteed win.
Nope.
But I think it's a battle, because that Texas Tech team is good, but so is BYU. And the way that they've competed, you look at the stat sheet across for the entire regular season, and they show up. BYU shows up really, really well in all areas, and it just wasn't the showing that in my opinion accurately represents the way BYU, this team, operates today.
That's how I feel.
So obviously I have no experience as a receiver specifically at that level, but I keep hearing people say that quarterback throws a catchable ball. How much of a catchable ball does Bear Bachmeier throw?
I mean, I think pretty catchable. It's just so pretty. The thing about Bear is you don't see a lot of ducks out there.
Yeah.
He throws a nice tight spiral, and that makes a difference. It makes an impact, and so yeah. I'd love to go run routes for Bear and kind of get the experience of what everybody else is experiencing on that team.
Have you ever seen a quarterback not use the laces as much as Bear does?
I feel like I've seen it before. It blows my mind, because every time I pick up a football, I don't think I could even attempt to throw it without gripping the laces.
Not hitting a spiral, no.
No.
That's crazy. Hey, Mitch, we appreciate it. Hans is on the hook for how many? 6 dogs?
Oh, yeah, 6. So did you know what I put up, Mitch?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, so you and I are going to have to make a run to Skyline. Mitch got to be my support. Mitch could do 6, and it's not even a threat for Mitch.
Yeah.
I need you to set the pace for me, Mitch.
Yeah, I'll be your pacer. I'll be your rabbit.
I like it.
We got to get Greg. Somehow we got to talk Greg into going. I don't know. Will Greg lower his standards for Skyline?
Greg doesn't seem like a chili dog kind of guy.
No. I don't know, but I'll beg him.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to beg Greg.
When we begged him to hang out with us and eat some pizza in Las Vegas, we got him there, but I don't know how overly
he loved it. He loved it. He told me he actually ended up enjoying the pizza.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, Mitch, you're the best, man. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mitch.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
There he is, Mitch Juergens, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Yeah, he could roll out of bed and knock down 6 dogs.
Yeah, he could. In fact, I bet he'll do it. Now, that's going to hurt me. Because when I go, I eat I haven't been to Cincinnati in 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And when I would go, I'd get 3, and I'd get them 3-way. You can go 4-way. I think they might have a 5-way, but the 3-way is onion, mustard, and cheese. And the cheese piles up high on top of this chili dog. and I would do 3, and it was filling back in the day. So 6 is going to hurt. But I'm gonna do everything I can.
Yeah, I love it.
Got to keep up my end of the deal.
Let's go. Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. The Aggies head to California for a chance to get bowl eligible against Fresno State. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanksgiving coming up 1 week from tomorrow. And you're like, oh, man, I got to find a turkey. Then I got to thaw the thing out, and I got to do all this other nonsense. I got my mother-in-law, my father-in-law. They're going to be barking at me because the turkey's too dry or whatever the case is. Okay, well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is call my guy, Kenny J, at Kenny J's Barbecue, 801-230-5396. That's 801-230-5396.
Hey, hold on. Give me that number again because I'm putting it in. I got to call him. I'm going to have Kenny do my turkey this year.
Nice.
What is it?
801
okay.
230 5396.
5396.
Can you just screen grab him the picture of the number?
No, stop, Lloyd.
Oh, thanks for showing up, Lloyd.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Lloyd.
You know what Lloyd was doing? He was having a fancy lunch with the bigwigs. He dropped us so he could eat lunch.
Serious?
No, yeah. And by the way, this wasn't a ramen noodle lunch.
This wasn't like a little taco bar?
The guy we were talking about during the break?
Yeah.
Oh, it's him and Lloyd essentially just rubbing
much.
elbows for 2 hours. Yeah.
Face to face, just the two of us.
You can make it if you try.
Did you have some Cornish game hen?
I passed on the game, man. Sorry.
All right.
Well, Kenny J's Barbecue, he'll make the turkey for you. And this is a massive turkey breast, slow smoked to perfection. We've had this turkey. It is absolutely incredible. All you have to do is call or text Kenny directly, 801-230-5396, 5396, and say, Kenny, I need my turkey. Help me out. I don't want to screw that up. And he'll be like, I got you.
Well, I'm having Kenny do it because plans have changed a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. So our little Thanksgiving, we usually have that big Thanksgiving, 60, 70 people. It's down to about 15. So
oh, really?
I'm going to have Kenny just do some smoked turkey for me.
Nice. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but
is that where the talent show usually happens, or is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Was it because you got physical last one?
I don't know exactly what happened, but people have opted to go to Ryan's house and not mine this year, so including mom and dad. Oh, yeah, but that's why I'm going to have Kenny J kick it up a notch, and
we'll have our own party.
I'll salt my turkey with my tears.
Wow. Ryan pulled the rug out, huh?
Yeah. He wanted to do his own Thanksgiving
because he's got that fancy new house up in Logan.
Yeah, up by Michael Ballum's house.
Yeah. Look at me, my new house.
Me and Michael Ballum will be Thanksgiving today.
I wonder if they have like a sing-off, he and Michael.
Just so you know, if they did, Ryan would sink him.
Oh, I do. I agree with that.
Did Ryan whittle his home out of wood?
About the same amount of times as Scotty built a frame out of it with his lathe.
My lathe. Yeah. All right.
It's a hopa.
BYU and Cincinnati. Oh, Lloyd, I'm glad you're
so
back.
much lacquer.
By the way, Lloyd, did you what did you have? This wasn't a $5 pizza lunch, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't. I went with a nice soup and some and a salad and a great. There was a dessert. Essentially, it was like a cheesecake dessert of sorts.
Soup and salad.
Yeah,
that's playing it safe. Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, BYU Cincinnati, as we get you ready for what will be a very entertaining game. Kalani is not style points guy. Number one priority, win the game. Number two, I'm sorry, Kalani. I know this isn't who you are as a person. You got to win it if you can by 4 or 5 touchdowns.
You know what I think? I think Kalani has submitted to the fact that the only way he gets there is winning the Big 12 championship.
Yeah. Well,
I think
he's probably right.
I honestly think that in his mind, he's drawn it up and he said, I see the writing on the wall. I know what you guys are doing. I know how I can make my money. My money is made by winning.
Yeah.
It's not by getting a wild card. Like I've got to win. And when I heard him talking at his presser on Monday, and he went on that little bit of a rant about not looking, not caring, it said a lot to me. I think that he's looking at it saying, number one, I don't want to rely on a committee where we're sitting there late at night because we've lost one late in the season and we're hoping that they throw us a bone.
Yeah.
I want to be able to walk off the field in Arlington and be able to cash my own check.
Yeah.
So I understand his mindset. So with that goes to what you were just talking about, his style points. I just don't think he cares.
Yeah. And he tried to call the dogs off last week.
He did. He had second and third stringers in about maybe 8 or 10 minutes left in the fourth.
It's just, and you're right. I think you may be getting guys off the field just to protect them because you need to beat Central Florida, and then you need everybody to be as healthy as they possibly can against Texas Tech because all your eggs need to be in that basket.
No, I think that BYU is in a different situation than others in the conference. I think that they're looking at it thinking the lack of showing up against Texas Tech just did a lot of damage to them.
That's what the committee's pointing to directly, being like, oh, well.
They said it out loud.
Only one loss, but they sure got manhandled in Lubbock.
They said it out loud.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They released a statement on it.
Yeah, offense, defensive lines were just dominated by Texas Tech.
And I still feel like they just didn't have their team on the field.
Yeah. Okay, so as a former defensive lineman and former offensive lineman, if you got another shot at a team and you kept hearing a committee say the reason we are not letting you be a part of the party is because of you and your group specifically, because you were dominated at the line of scrimmage. Now that is something I'm sure can be pointed to. They're like, hey, they said you weren't physical.
I'd be irate.
They said that you weren't tough enough.
Yeah.
That's going right after your manhood.
By the way, I think that Texas Tech would do that to Notre Dame.
Yes, agreed.
I think Texas Tech would do that to Alabama.
Yep.
I think the trenches that will match Texas Tech are Indiana and Ohio State.
Yeah, and maybe Texas A&M. But they do it to Georgia. They do it to Ole Miss. They do it to Oregon. They definitely do it to Oklahoma.
I think they'd own them.
Yeah. I like Texas A&M's defensive line.
I'm just shocked that a loss to a top 5 team is what everybody is looking at.
I know. Yeah.
And then they're like, well, yeah, but you had a 10-point comeback on the road or you had a 14-point comeback on the road. What are you talking about? This team has learned and grown along the way with every one of those comebacks.
Yeah.
And then they finally put it all together against TCU. And I got a feeling they're going to put it together against Cincinnati.
So nobody's saying anything that that Alabama lost to a 5-5 Florida State team. So that apparently doesn't matter.
So that loss is a better-looking loss than the Texas Tech loss for BYU?
And remember, and that's one of 2 losses Alabama has because they lost to Oklahoma last week.
Yeah.
Let's look at Notre Dame, see what their losses are. I should know this off the top of my head. Notre Dame's 2 losses came against. Wait for it. See, this is really bad radio. Yeah, and our internet's toast. But Notre Dame, okay, here we go. Notre Dame's 2 losses. They lost to Miami of Florida, okay, and then they lost to Texas A&M. So those are 2 good losses, but they haven't played anybody since. Pittsburgh, Navy, Boston College, USC. USC's a good win, but then NC State, Boise State, Arkansas, Purdue. So against good teams, Notre Dame is 1-2.
Oklahoma lost to a Texas team that's tumbling.
Yeah.
And they lost to Ole Miss. They barely beat Tennessee and barely beat Alabama.
So, I mean, I can go, sure, you can point out BYU and say, yeah, they lost badly to Texas Tech. They were outmanned at line of scrimmage. Okay, that's fine. You can say that. But then let's apply that to all the other teams and everybody's their game. Like, we can poke holes in everybody's resume.
I mean, BYU's got the 6th strength of schedule, man.
Yeah.
They've got the 6th strength of schedule.
Yeah.
They're playing true road games.
They're winning on the road?
They're winning on the road. Well, I get, and see, there I go. Every time
I know.
Every time I try to tell myself, hey, get away from it, my brain takes me back to it.
Because you're right. Go back to your opening statement. None of it matters.
None of it matters, but it does bug me that if BYU were to get to the Big 12 championship game and their only 2 losses were against a probably top 3, top 4 team by the time things are said and done with Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And you're going to hold them out and not even give them a shot to see what they could do against Notre Dame or Oklahoma?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Or see what they could do against, well, I guess they wouldn't be ranked that high to be able to see a Tulane. But I would love to see BYU versus Jake Retzlaff.
Oh, that'd be fun. All right, Hans and Scotty, we'll wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.